Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are back once again to bring you a PLE predictions video, this time for Clash in Italy, set to take place in Italy, of course, this Sunday, May 31st. Per usual, we'll go through every single match set to take place, give you our predictions and thoughts on the entire card as a whole. And yeah, then we'll come back with the reaction shortly after. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the first match of the evening, which has been announced between Gunther and Cody, and Jade and Rhea kicking off the first hour of the show. So making the assumption that this would be the kickoff match, which has Gunther going up against Cody Rhodes, who is defending his undisputed WWE Championship. KP, who you got coming out of this one?
So I think this is one of those situations where it's basically head against heart for me personally. I am a massive fan of Gunther, always have been. Think he's one of the greatest that we have currently, on the WWE roster. Cody Rhodes, though, obviously just coming off the back of that Randy Orton feud, going to WrestleMania, this seemingly is a bit more, I don't know, status quo-esque style stuff. It's been not exactly the most, straightforward of bookings for this one. Obviously, we had a little bit of a bumpy path with Gunther not signing the contract, going through Royce Keys, and eventually getting into a position where he does earn that number one contendership back, and then eventually signing the contract. So it's been one of those weird ones. But I think in terms of Gunther and Cody here as to what's going to happen at Clash in Italy, I think if this was later in the year, maybe like a SummerSlam event, perhaps, I would probably go for Gunther. But because of the location, because it's the Clash in Italy, it's not like it's not like one of the big PLEs of the year. No offense to Clash in Italy. I'm looking forward to the show. Generally speaking, the match card is pretty damn stacked. But I just think because of the gravity, the gravity of the event, I think maybe it's not quite the timing here for Gunther to take the title off of Cody Rhodes. I would want him to, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to go with Cody to retain here up against Gunther. I'm looking forward to the match because it should be fantastic. Two men who are very good in the ring, so they should put on a great contest one-on-one. Just hopefully it does fit the bill with that one, obviously being the first hour free on ESPN Plus, whatever. So, yeah, I don't know how this exactly going to turn out, but I'm hoping for a really solid matchup. I mean, there's no reason why not, right? But yeah, I think Cody Rhodes retains. What about you, Nick? Are you on the same side as me? Do you think maybe if it wasn't a bigger event, maybe it could have gone good this way? But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, for me, this is heart versus heart. Obviously, I love both men here. And two of my favorites, and I think Gunther has this weird dynamic in that if he's not around a title, it feels or retiring someone, it feels like he's kind of lost for whatever reason. Creative struggles with the option of neither of those being involved. But of course, this time we have a title back involved. I do think the end game is Gunther winning back the Undisputed title. Question is, as you alluded to, does it happen here at Clash in Italy, or do we push this off? It feels like it's always a WWE thing. Like you can't ever just have one match. It always has to be this big, long, extended thing. I will argue that Clash in Italy, based on this card, is being booked like a massive PLE. So I'm going to go ahead and say that there are going to be some things happening, especially with the Saturday Night Main Event lackluster happenings, if you will. So I actually am going to go with Gunther to win the title off Cody here. I think a question has to be had as well, though. Does Sammy get involved here to continue that strange dynamic? Because if he does, and say he ends up costing Cody the title, well, they can go off into that feud. Don't even need a title for it, and I think that that sells itself. So maybe it is a bit of hopefulness because even though I do love Cody, I have to admit, it's nice to see someone else with the title for every once in a while, and so sing the same tune on the World Heavyweight Championship side as well. So I think Gunther is going to win here, and I think maybe a bit of a surprise, but I do think Gunther can win here, and yeah, because there are a lack of heels to challenge Cody at this point, and I feel like Gunther can reestablish himself as a dominant champion, maybe hopefully going into next WrestleMania season. With that, let's go ahead and get to the next match of the evening, which has Jade Cargill getting her rematch, going up against Rhea Ripley, who is defending her WWE Women's Championship. KP, any chance at all Jade gets her title back here?
Honestly, very doubtful. We just obviously saw Jade Cargill's run into WrestleMania as the champion for a number of months before that one. Rhea Ripley taking the championship off of Jade on that occasion. I personally don't see this being a bit of a hot potato situation. I can't see Rhea just getting a quick short title reign that lasts about a month or so. Well, 6 weeks or so, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't really strike me as something that is likely to happen. So I would think this one's just pretty cut and dry. Rhea Ripley does retain. Obviously, you've always got the likes of Michin and B-Fab and in that situation being a bit of a menace. But I also think that you've got Charlotte and Alexa, and especially the fact that Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley even have been on the same page recently. So, that's quite interesting. They didn't get the victory over at Saturnight's main event in that 3vs3 tag team match against obviously Jade and the gang. But I think just because of that, win for Jade and the other two there, I think it does make sense for Rhea to, get the one-up here and to get that victory and sort of, just right the wrongs of what happened to SNME. So, yeah, I think possibly Charlotte is the bigger picture here, perhaps. I honestly would love to see Charlotte against Rhea and Charlotte against Jade. I would love to see either or option. So I think both do work. So I think they got that in their favor, to be fair. But I think you still got Charlotte aligned with Alexa, so that sort of makes sense to keep it that way for the time being. And obviously you can just keep the title on Rhea Ripley, not have her have a short reign, and just allow her to do something with it for the time being. And I think it's just a pretty good relief from what we saw with Jade. Wasn't particularly enjoying that title reign, so I think now we can enjoy something with Rhea Ripley. She could deliver, so I think just why not just keep it going? It's only just started, let it roll, So yeah, Rhea Ripley to retain for me. Quite an easy one, this one, very cut and dry. How about you, Nick? Are you on the same side as me, or are you going with Jade Cargill?
Yeah, you brought up most of the points that I have here, and that is, even the numbers game advantage that Jade has, Rhea seemingly has the same, so those kind of cancel each other out. So it just does become a one-on-one match. We're hoping. I will say this: I feel like WWE has done a great job of kind of continuing to rebuild and finally getting Jade some support because it was quite obvious that she needed some kind of help in terms of mic and in-ring work and all of that. So the way they handled this and made Jade look really strong, and she's had Rhea's number for the most part of this feud getting kick-started back up. So I will say they've done a great job of doing so, making her feel like a credible threat. But we're talking about Rhea Ripley here. I would honestly be shocked if she loses this one before the next Mania because she from WWE's perspective, she is the top one in the business. So yeah, I would agree. I think this is a pretty easy prediction here, Rhea to retain. The next match of the evening has the ruler Obafemi going up against the Beast in a rematch of their fake retirement ending. We neither of us care too much for how this all went down, and yet here we are. So let's go ahead and get this one over with. KP, who you got coming out of this one?
I just want to quickly cast us all back here to WrestleMania predictions and when these two went up against each other for the first time on the grandest stage of them all. I was thinking that Lesnar was going to win that one because I just thought at the time it did make sense because of the build. Now we look back at this one where, Obafemi and Lesnar 2 is being built, and we've had a bit more of a dominant sort of, visage for Brock Lesnar. So going into this match between the two of them, the rematch, does it make sense to have Lesnar lose twice in a row? I would love to see it happen. I think that would be my preferable option. But realistically, is that going to take place? I don't think it will. I don't think they would have him lose 2 in a row to Obafemi to the same person. I think it'd be great if they did. It would keep that skyrocketing momentum for Obafemi, just completely rolling onwards, and it would sort of make Lesnar think, twice about, of ever even stepping up to him in the first place. I just don't really see the point in Lesnar winning, Lesnar losing this one if you're in WWE control, because he's in his final few months. I didn't think he was going to retire at WrestleMania. He's got, SummerSlam coming on up. He'll have a big profile match there. If he just loses this one, and then, let's say that SummerSlam match is his next one after this one, because they are quite few and far in between, then he's going into it with a loss. And I feel like, that doesn't really make too much sense. So the only downside is that it does sort of scupper over some momentum a little bit. I feel like he'll be fine. Like, he won't suffer too much from it, but it will have a little bit of an effect. And, that will be a notch on the tally there as a loss. So it's one of those things, but I really don't see why they'll have Lesnar losing this one, not 2 in a row. I would love them to do it, but I don't think it'll happen. That's just my gut feeling. So my gut feeling says Lesnar to win. What about you, Nick? Do you think that there's a possibility here that Oba just beats Lesnar again, continues that complete level of momentum that he's obviously built so far? The crowd are loving him, and every rightful reason to do so. Will that sort of be a problem here if he were to lose? Do you think that will happen? Or do you think he's going to get the win again?
Well, to steal your phrase from earlier, I'm going to use my heart on this one. Um, I I'd argue that, if Brock is that close to retirement, then you can simply take the story in that Brock's washed up. He can't beat the top guys in WWE, which clearly they are wanting Oba to be booked as such. So having Brock lose again to, seemingly the hottest star in WWE, I don't think that's a big deal for me. And then he can kind of fight his internal battles up until SummerSlam, which hopefully is his real retirement. And then he can fight internally with himself, saying, "Well, maybe I do need to be done." And then he can face someone like, I don't know, Gunther, and Gunther can retire him as well. So that's kind of where my head's at. I'm annoyed that he's back. It didn't even stay gone for a month, which we had our doubts, on how realistic or how real that was at Mania, but just kind of, I think, hoped that it was. But regardless, it's silly the way they wrote this. Paul comes back and says, "Oh, I have a contract for a match." Like, all right, well, let's go ahead and do this then. I'm extremely hopeful that Oba wins because, as you mentioned, it does kind of stop his momentum, and he had a ton of it. It wouldn't be the first person to lose to Brock. It just feels like a wasted story here. So, yeah, I just because I want it to be, I'm hoping that works that way. I think Oba is the right person to win here and continue his momentum. Yeah, Oba to win for me. The next match of the evening has Sol Ruca going up against the man Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. KP, any chance Sol gets her first main title gold here at Clash in Italy?
My instinctive gut feeling is no, and purely because of, if you look back to Saturday's main event last weekend, and obviously we had Sol Ruca technically defeat Becky Lynch via disqualification. I feel like that's their way of giving Sol Ruca a win over Becky. So obviously we can look at how it happened. We can look at the referee, and obviously it was Becky's action that got herself disqualified. It wasn't Sol Ruca winning because she was just better on the night. Um, but it goes down in the record books as Sol recording a win over Becky by whatever means you want to discuss. So I feel like that's how we've sort of got to this definitely 100% championship matchup. No confusion this time. It is for the title. So obviously the gold is definitely on the line. So that obviously adds another extra layer to the matchup. I can't see it personally. Sol's very early into a main roster run. Unfortunately for herself, it hasn't been the cleanest intro as well. I don't want to sort of look down upon that, but there have been a couple of slips here and there. So I would be surprised if we do see Becky losing her championship. She only recently just won it back at WrestleMania, so it hasn't even been that long since she got the title back in her possession. But I do feel like Sol Ruca will pick up a championship at some point. Inevitable, it will happen, but just not quite yet. So yeah, this is a great way of getting some exposure to her. Have a proper one-on-one match against Becky. Go at least 15 minutes or so. Put a really good, solid performance in, and yeah, I'm assuming it won't be too long after that. Then we do see her pushing for a championship that she could realistically win. So yeah, I think just a little too early, but I think Becky will retain her title here against Sol Ruca. What about you, Nick? Are you going differently with me? Do you reckon we could have a new champion crowned here, or is it going to be the man, coming around and defending a title successfully in Italy?
Well, I'm going to continue to stick to the story I was telling for Saturday Night Main Event predictions and reactions, and that was that I felt like Sol was going to earn this title shot here. Here we are, and then I said I think that when we didn't quite know if the title was up for grabs, Essen and me, that it is for up for grabs now, and so I think, like I said, like you said, it is very early, but I think if anyone's going to get that very early championship reign, it is going to be someone of the likes of Sol Ruca. As you said, hopefully she can kind of calm down and kind of take her time in the ring. I think I said that before as well on air, is that she just needs to calm down, take her time. But yeah, the man is great at putting other people over. Obviously, we've already seen that with Maxine. We've seen that with Lyra. I think Soul is the next person to kind of have that be done. I think the sky is the limit for her, and I think this is a great opportunity. Another reason for thinking that Soul can win the title here is, not to give out a spoiler here, but we haven't had a title change so far in our predictions. So if our predictions well, a couple of us have, or one of us have, one of us haven't. But I think eventually you have to have a title change in with how big this card is. It's a little bit of a spoiler to the last match, but I think that's another reason why I think this is probably the most likely title change in my opinion. I just have a hard time believing that they'll go 5 matches, four of them being for titles and not a single one changing hands. But maybe that's me just optimistically thinking. But yeah, I do think Sola is going to get her first title here against the man, and as you said as well, hopefully it is a much better match than their last encounter. 15 minutes, maybe 20, that would be great. Because we were both really looking forward to their last contest, but that did not pan out. So hopefully this one does. With that, let's go ahead and get into the main event, which has Jacob Fatu going up against Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship in a tribal combat match. KP, who you got coming out of this one?
It'd be too quick and easy if I was just to say Roman Reigns, then I was done, right? No, I'll go into some explanation here. Yeah, I do think Roman Reigns is going to retain here. I can't see Jacob Fatu winning against Roman. I feel like we saw a very good display from Fatu against Roman at their previous match at Backlash, and some describe it as, Roman Reigns survived that contest. It's one of those situations where, Jacob's kept the heat on. He hasn't stopped down all gas, no breaks. That's what he's sort of implied here going into this rivalry, keeping it going along. And obviously, we've now got the tribal combat aspect of it, where the winner will obviously be acknowledged by the loser. And I think the Ulafala will be placed upon their shoulders as well. So it's certainly an interesting one when you look at that dynamic. But I just think they are going to keep Roman Reigns. Like, I've got this image in my head, this vision that is going to be Roman defending for the entire year. And until I see something that, really sort of makes me doubt that, I'm just going to stick with that for the time being. So, yeah, I think Roman Reigns retains here. It's quite an easy one for me. Am I looking forward to the match? I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I hope it's good. I really, really do. Tribal combat should be excellent. So, yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. But yeah, Roman to retain, I got really no questions or qualms about that. Pretty confident in that one. And unfortunately for me, that does mean I'm going with the entirety of the title matches to be all successful defenses by the champions, which I don't want that to be the case. I would love Gunther to win, but unfortunately, my head does say, Roman Reigns does retain this one. Therefore, all the titles will be successfully defended by their champions. So, yeah, let's just hope this one's a good main event. Hopefully, it's worth it. Hope it's worth the time, worth a feud, and this should be the end of it, right? So let's go out on a bang for sure. What about you, Nick? Where's your head at? Are you going with Roman Reigns as well, or is it could be Jacob Fatu winning the tribal combat match?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think this is the end of it. I think the only way you couldn't call this the end is if Jacob were to win and then Roman gets a rematch. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening. It felt like it was more likely the last time these guys got together. This time doesn't feel as important for some reason. Even though technically it should. It should be more important, more personal. But I just don't see Roman losing this stipulation in what should be an absolute chaos. Obviously, Roman has, the numbers advantage here. Maybe Jacob has something up his sleeve, and I'm assuming though, we'll see some surprises or some kind of chaos, lots of chaos, in fact. But yeah, now that Roman has been confirmed to be there all summer, it seems, despite the rumors earlier that he wasn't going to be, I think that's all but confirms the fact that Roman will continue to be champion, kind of making sure that our champion stays on the brand, which is great. We don't want part-time champions. So yeah, I think Roman is probably the best choice to retain here. And yeah, hopefully, no offense, KP, but I hope my predictions are more right than yours because I don't want an entire card without a change in championship. So with that, Clash in Italy predictions all done here. What do you guys make of this card? What are you most looking forward to? And which predictions did we get wrong? What are we missing? Please let us know in the comments below. If you like what we're putting out here, please do let us know. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well, as it does help us out tremendously. We have the AAA PLE this weekend. We'll be back for a reactions video with that, as well as a SmackDown recap, obviously, as well, and a Clash in Italy PLE reactions video as well. So a busy weekend full of wrestling. Looking forward to it. But until next time, this has been The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you soon. Take care.